In a future world, the poor have become mere tools for the rich. Every day, an overweight man is forced to consume 100 kilograms of cola, yet he feels no pleasure from it. The sensation of the cola is transmitted directly to the rich's brains via sensors, while the weight gain is borne by the man. On her first day, Diana faints from the overwhelming stimulation. The doctor rushed to treat her, but Mason stopped him. He has injected a special virus into all senior executives. An electric shock could activate it instantly. Even the wealthy are mere puppets of those richer than themselves. Diana is rushed to the hospital, but as the elevator doors close, the doctor reveals his disguise and illuminates the entire space. Ben had prepared a body identical to Diana's. He extracts her DNA and injects it into the body before disguising the elevator again. He shakes his head at Mason, indicating Diana couldn't be saved. Ben successfully kidnaps Diana and buys time to steal corporate secrets. The company has developed a brainwave extractor that can access a user's thoughts, a tool to better understand and control the poor. Ben's achievements earn him a promotion to the 39th floor, but he's still a step away from his goal. He's fought his way up from the slums to this point to find his girlfriend, Elena, who disappeared years ago. Only on the 40th floor can he access the search permissions, and with rich people living between 800 and 1,000 years, Elena can't wait that long. Ben decides on a radical approach. In the slums, he pays for a motorized elevator right to the 70th floor. There, he purchases a special gun that produces a unique sound wave and earphones to protect himself from its effects. In Chad's office, Ben discreetly triggers the gun under the desk. Chad rushes to the bathroom, and Ben quickly plants a virus in his computer, but the virus was implanting a little too slowly. And with Chad about to return, Ben was quick to turn up the heat on his pistol. Though successful in keeping Chad away, the earphones quickly run out of power. Despite discomfort, Ben completes the virus transfer before Chad's return. At day's end, everyone queues for the company's security check. Just as Ben passes the guards, an alarm blares. Chad's hard drive has been detected with a dangerous signal. Chad was hooded and sent to the interrogation room before he knew what was happening. Finally, Ben's plan comes to fruition. He takes over Chad's position and reaches the 40th floor. After exchanging brief greetings with his new colleagues, Ben calmly closes his office curtains. Now, he has nationwide search access. Eagerly, Ben puts a photo of Elena into the system and starts a nationwide search. The results shock him. The once innocent and lovely Elena now appears heavily made up in an exclusive club for the elite. In this future world, due to overpopulation, childbirth is regulated by lottery. Parents with breeding rights can customize their baby's features in the hospital. If the dad's nose is nice, they use his. If the mom's ears are unattractive, they use the dad's. A single hair is all the hospital needs to create a baby in a gestation sphere. But Ben believes in the benefits of natural conception. Despite the hardship of pregnancy, his deeply loving wife Laura agrees. However, Ben secretly buys contraceptive patches on the black market, preventing pregnancy for 7 days upon skin contact. And Ben's doing it because the real reason he's in the rich neighborhood is to find Elena. His marriage to Laura was merely a step up in the company, especially since her mother is a tech firm's vice president. After framing Chad, Ben ascends to the company's 40th floor, but as he discovers Elena's whereabouts, Security Chief Julian summons him for a talk. They've learned from Chad's harsh interrogation that Ben had visited his office. Chad suspects Ben of planting the virus to frame him. Luckily, Ben is prepared. He subtly places his hacking disk under the interrogation table, then silently alters the time logs of his office visit. That way, the virus didn't match up with Ben's entry time, and he was off the hook. However, Julian's keen eyes detect evasion in Ben's gaze, suspecting he harbors a dark secret. Before leaving, Ben realizes everyone is being searched. He reluctantly leaves the hacking disk behind, planning to retrieve it later. The next day, returning to Julian's office, Ben finds the disk missing. Panicked, he fears exposure. Julian only presses him to confess any secrets. Clearly, Julian isn't the one who took the disk. Ben is in the car, thinking over and over again, who could have taken the hacking disk, which contains all his secrets? At this moment, a man is tampering with the hacker disk, attempting to decrypt its contents. This man is Roger, Ben's new colleague on the 40th floor. Feeling his position threatened by Ben, the company's fastest rising star, Roger is determined to uncover Ben's secrets. The hacker disk, layered with hundreds of encryptions, is a tough nut to crack, but Ben, always one step ahead, has set a self-destruct program in the disk in case of hacking attempts. As Roger begins, the disk starts to erase its data. He quickly shuts down the power, barely saving the information, but making decryption nearly impossible. Left with no choice, Roger heads to the slums to seek out the Red Zone hacker. Unbeknownst to him, the hacker has already gathered his entire background. Roger, the son of a material company CEO, is a spoiled rich kid, raised in luxury. The hacker is intrigued and agrees to help. But first, she wants Roger to experience the life of the underprivileged. She asked Roger to catch a large street rat barehanded. Scoffing at the idea, an infuriated Roger storms off.
I'm gonna give you a skeleton key if I tell him not to.
Unexpectedly, hacker turned out to be so cunning, helpless. Roger had no choice but to catch rats on the filthy and muddy streets. He ended up covered in dirt and finally completed the task. His success pleases the hacker, but she quickly makes another outrageous demand.
Skeleton key.
She insists on helping only those at the bottom and tells Roger he must eat the rat to become one of them. That's how Roger, with great difficulty, opened the contents of the disc, and a woman suddenly appeared before his eyes. The woman's identity was that of a hostess in the executive club. Without hesitation, Roger gets his father to pull strings and arrange a meeting with this mysterious woman. Meanwhile, Ben presses a button, turning his image on the surveillance into a blur of pixels. He sits in the living room, anxiously waiting for Elena. His once innocent and lovely girlfriend is now heavily made up. Going to a hotel room with another man, Ben quickly books the room below hers and attaches an MRI sphere to the ceiling. Listening to the familiar voice, Ben realized that Elena was now with his colleague Roger. Roger cunningly probes into Elena's background. She claims to have grown up in a wealthy Swiss neighborhood and attended a girls' school, but Roger sees through her lies and demands the truth. Elena confesses her real origins from the slums, where her father's restaurant failure forced her into debt. To repay it, she sold herself to the tech company as a hostess. Roger, thrilled by this revelation, asks about her relationship with Ben. Elena insists she doesn't know anyone named Ben. Ben's current identity and name were all forged. His real name was Aaron, and he lived in the slums. So, Elena truly had no idea that the so-called Ben was, in fact, her first love, Aaron. Roger was getting angry and picked up a screwdriver from nearby, firmly restraining Elena in the chair. However, Elena continued to vehemently deny knowing Ben. In this urgent situation, downstairs, Ben began hacking into the hotel system. He connected the kitchen exhaust to the hotel's ventilation ducts. In an instant, the hotel's alarm went off, forcing everyone to put on breathing masks and evacuate. Ben finally succeeded in rescuing Elena, but just as he was about to catch up with her, the management called for an emergency meeting, leaving him with no choice but to come to the company and showcase his latest product. Building upon a brainwave extraction device developed by a rival company, Ben had made significant improvements. This device could temporarily erase a person's memories. Imagine employees deleting memories related to the company before leaving and then restoring them upon returning. This way, the company's secrets would remain safe. Ben estimated that the product could be ready in 3 months, but the management insisted it had to be completed within a month. At that moment, Ben received a message on his phone. The hacking software he had implanted in Roger's phone showed that Roger was heading towards the slums. Ben realized that something was terribly wrong. To stop Roger, Ben reluctantly agreed to the product development request and hastily left the company. At this point, Roger had already located Elena's biological father, Gustavo. Based on her identity information, Gustavo had thought his daughter Elena had passed away, but Roger revealed the truth to him, leaving Gustavo overwhelmed with emotion. Then, Roger showed Gustavo a picture of Ben and asked if he knew the man. As expected, Roger learned Ben's true identity from Gustavo. Ben's real name was Aaron, and he was born in the slums. He had falsified his identity to get into the company. This was a serious crime, and now a report could send Ben straight to hell. This way, it won't threaten his ascent. As Roger prepares to leave, a figure suddenly appears at the door. It's Ben, who has followed him. Surprisingly calm, Roger holds the upper hand. With Ben now exposed, Ben confesses his true purpose for infiltrating the upper echelons and proposes a deal. He'll withdraw from the promotion race if Roger lets him rescue his girlfriend, aiming for a win-win situation.
Get me into Arcadia. Do we have a deal? Sure.
Unexpectedly, Roger has been recording the entire conversation, never intending to cooperate. A fierce fight breaks out between the two. ending with Ben accidentally killing Roger in a fit of overexcitement. Roger's father is the influential CEO of a materials company, and Ben can expect unimaginable torment awaiting him. Quickly devising a plan, Ben takes Roger's watch and sets his car for autopilot towards a scorching desert. As the car carried Roger to the scorching desert border, within 3 days, his entire body would be melted by the sun, and by then, no one would be able to find him. The plan is flawless, except for one oversight. The luxury car in the slums is an easy target for robbers. 2 thieves set up a roadblock, puncturing the car's tires as it approaches. They discover Roger's corpse upon opening the door. In this future world, the poor who seek education commit a severe crime, especially if they dare to take private lessons. Yet, some risk it by buying study materials and knowledge-infusing solutions on the black market. The infusion method boosts learning efficiency but carries dangerous side effects without safety approvals. Elena suffers a massive seizure from the rapid brain activity and collapses. Fortunately, Ben, secretly admiring her from outside, rushes in to remove the infusion tube, saving her life. From then on, Ben becomes Elena's guardian angel, protecting her from police patrols and unexpected dangers. They fall in love and enjoy blissful times together. Elena's hard work finally pays off, and she passes the tech company's exam. Rebecca, a high-ranking executive, personally visits Elena's family restaurant to deliver the news, but Rebecca said she had no intention of admitting Elena because her grades were second best.
You came all the way here just to tell me that?
No. There could be a place for you in the Spiga family.
Rebecca, as it turned out, valued not Elena's talent but her beautiful appearance and body. As long as Elena agreed to work as a hostess for the tech company, the company would provide her with a generous salary and ensure a carefree life for her and her family. It's a blatant insult to Elena, who studied rigorously for 3 years. Gustavo is furious. He aims his pistol at Rebecca's head, warning her to leave immediately. Rebecca's men respond by aiming more powerful rifles at Gustavo. Just in time, Ben arrives and persuades both sides to lower their weapons. Rebecca leaves, shouting threats of regret. As expected, Gustavo's restaurant business plummets, likely due to Rebecca's sabotage. Ben, determined to help Elena through these tough times, teams up with Theo to hack into a currency exchange system. They plan to temporarily hike up the exchange rate, make a profitable exchange, and then reset it. Theo nervously joins the queue. When it's his turn, Ben quickly adjusts the exchange rate. Mason, the operator, thinks Theo was just lucky, hitting the spike, but when security starts a recheck, Ben hikes all currency rates, causing chaos. Theo escapes in the confusion. Elated, Ben hands the money to Elena, but she refuses it, sharing some good news. The top scorer in the tech company's exam was caught cheating, making Elena the new first place. They're about to celebrate when a grenade is hurled through their window. Ben's quick thinking with a table shields them from harm, but the fire consumes everything, including the money they just earned. Firefighters arrive but refuse to extinguish the blaze, citing unpaid fire department fees. Their only concern is to prevent the fire from spreading. Elena's family loses everything, and Gustavo is jailed for debt. Rebecca reappears, offering Elena a way out by becoming a hostess. Despite knowing it's all a scheme, Elena, with no options left, agrees to join them. As Elena prepares to sign the contract, Ben tries to stop her but is restrained by bodyguards. He pleads for time to raise money and solve the crisis. Still, Elena presses her thumbprint on the contract, asking Ben for one last favor.
If you love me, I need you to do one thing. Forget about me.
A simple request shatters Ben's heart. Ben was determined that one day he would enter the affluent district to rescue his beloved woman. Opportunity came quickly. One day, Ben saw his old friend at the bar, and to his surprise, his friend was now dressed in a suit only the elite could wear. His friend, through years of research, cracked the wealthy's identity system and now lives in the elite area as Jonathan, with a new family. Upon Ben's request, Jonathan agrees to create a fake identity for him, but only they must know, for discovery means their ruin. Under this new persona, Ben climbs the corporate ladder in the tech company, reaching the 40th floor, where he learns about Elena. However, Roger discovers Ben's true lower-class identity. Left with no choice, Ben kills Roger, whose body is later found by slum robbers. The company immediately launched a comprehensive investigation, Since the deceased was the son of the CEO of the materials company, it was a significant matter, so every employee in the company had to undergo questioning. Their latest brainwave extraction device was about to come into play as it could reconstruct scenes from the user's memories. Ben knows his secrets will be exposed when it's his turn. In a desperate move, Ben uses a memory erasing device he's been developing, instructing Jonathan to erase his memories of killing Roger and his life in the slums, leaving only his upper-class experiences. With his past memories erased, Ben faces no risk of exposure under the company's scrutiny. Once the investigation concludes, Jonathan plans to restore his true memories, allowing Ben to navigate through the crisis successfully. With Jonathan's help, Ben's memories of his impoverished life are completely erased. The next day, Ben, bewildered, is brought in for interrogation. When Julian asks about his name and family, the screen fills with the false memories Ben had set up. Now a full-fledged elite, Ben is oblivious to what actually happened. Shocked to learn about Roger's death, the memoryless Ben decides to join the investigation team. He aims to use his exceptional hacking skills to help them find Roger's killer. Jonathan prepares to return Ben's original memories. However, Ben reveals he's planning to have a child with his wife. Jonathan suddenly realizes that Ben has fully transformed into an elite. With a decent job and a happy family, he no longer needs the sordid memories of his lower-class past, which would only add to his troubles. Jonathan asks Ben a pivotal question: between a good friend and family, who would he choose?
Well, family always comes first, right?
With a knowing smile, Jonathan secretly decides to keep Ben's memories of poverty hidden forever, but now fully assimilated as an elite. Ben is deeply concerned about the company's affairs. Fearing the loss of business due to Roger's death, he voluntarily joins the investigation team to find the real culprit. As a computer genius, Ben quickly uncovers a crucial clue. By analyzing the victim's vehicle GPS data, he noticed repeated codes at a specific location, indicating that the perpetrator may have diverted the car at that spot. It's highly likely that this coordinate is the crime scene, located in an abandoned warehouse in the slums. At the site, they discover drag marks on the ground, evidence of the body being moved, but with no cameras in the slum, finding the killer seems almost impossible. That's when Ben notices a weather monitor on the roof, a device installed by the elite to predict storms and extreme weather in the slums, accurately recording wind, humidity, and temperature. Ben has an epiphany. Since the wind direction changes when blocked by a face, he theorizes that analyzing the weather data from the day of the murder could reconstruct the killer's facial features. After returning home,
you can get me a face?
If his data is reliable, I'll be able to show you who killed Roger before you're done with it.
Ben used a computer to gradually reconstruct the scene of the incident as it happened, zooming in on the killer's face. He's shocked to find that it's himself. At that moment, Julian calls, inquiring about the progress. Ben quickly lies, saying the data analysis is more complex than anticipated, needing another day. Meanwhile, Jonathan receives a video email from Ben, recorded 3 days earlier, anticipating Jonathan might withhold his memories. Ben set up a timed email threatening to expose Jonathan's identity if his memories aren't returned within 72 hours. Another email revealing Jonathan's forged identity as an elite will be sent to the police. Once exposed, Jonathan was going to lose everything. He was furious. Never expecting that Ben could be so ruthless, Jonathan heads to his secret base, attempting to hack Ben's email and delete the threatening message. However, this action triggers Ben's safeguard program, shortening the deadline to 24 hours. Left with no choice, Jonathan reluctantly restores Ben's memories and reveals everything that happened. Realizing why he became the killer, Ben returns home, feeling incomplete without his past memories. After much thought, he decides to regain the lost part of his memory. Once his sealed memories flood back, Aaron, the man who clawed his way up from the bottom, returns. He alters the facial reconstruction data to frame a slum beggar for Roger's murder, but Julian remains suspicious of Ben's behavior. Just when Ben thinks it's all over, a group of mysterious men burst into his home. They stun and kidnap him. Waking up bound, Ben finds himself surrounded by armed criminals, Roger's friends, suspecting Ben as the real murderer due to their rivalry. Kidnap him. They offer to spare his family if Ben confesses, but Ben insisted on his innocence. claiming that he had already identified the real culprits. Frustrated with Ben's lack of cooperation, the kidnappers shot a bullet through his right leg and relentlessly pressed their fingers into his wound to torture him. Despite enduring immense physical pain, Ben still maintained his innocence. The kidnappers brought Ben's wife, Laura, and threatened to kill her if he didn't confess. At this moment, Ben suddenly noticed that Laura was not wearing her wedding ring. With his high intelligence, he instantly understood what was going on. The kidnappers began to count down from 3, 2, 1, but Ben still insisted that he was not the culprit and would not admit to the crime. As a result, they really shot and killed Laura right then and there. Ben let out a painful scream, but the next second, he found himself back in the company's interrogation room. It was all an illusion created by brain sensors. Dispelling Julian's suspicions, Ben had already deduced the ruse. Knowing Laura would never be without her wedding ring, having passed this test, Ben finally reaches the executive club to save his beloved Elena. After 6 years, Ben reappeared before Elena, leaving her utterly shocked. They pretended to be strangers and engaged in a conversation. Elena is surprised at Ben's ascension, but disappointed seeing his wedding ring, believing he's changed. Ben explains his actions were all to rescue her, but Elena admits she's no longer the girl she once was.
Go back to your wife, Ben. Have a happy life.
Ben never expected that years of effort would ultimately lead to this outcome, but in reality, Elena was equally heartbroken because according to the company's contract, if they were to escape, they would be pursued to the ends of the earth. Elena was unwilling to disrupt Ben's current carefree life. The star-crossed lovers end up pushing each other away. Thus concludes the first season of The Kiss of the Jackal. Unfortunately, this imaginative science fiction series will not have a second season due to low viewership after the first season concluded.